program will take approximately 250 to 400 seats out of, and for the purpose of this discussion, it's probably safe to say that they're all going to be county-wide, unless something else happens. But I think as we move forward. So that means if you look at, go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Excuse me, explanation. When you say countywide from the standpoint of transportation, you're talking about transportation either north to south or south to west?
From any spot in Pinellas County to that program.
It would, again, be arterial.
It would be
Right,
arterial.
I
It
said
would be arterial.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
But anywhere from Tarpon to the Skyway.
Would this be different than engineering at Eastlake?
That's,
It's the same plan.
It's the same plan?
it could be,
Will
but.
it be countywide, or how are you going to?
Well, that's why I'm saying it's the impact in terms of, it's, once again, it goes back to, as you move forward, if it's a similar program to the Eastlake program, do you set boundaries? There's so many variables that go into this that you have to make some decisions as the bigger plan is unveiled in its entirety.
Bogey has the aeronautics program too, though, right?
They have aeronautics, but you get into Bogey first, then you get into the aeronautics program. It's not.
That couldn't be an engineering kind of?
It could be, but for the purpose of, I'm not the Center of Excellence expert, but what that will be comprised of, because one of the questions that we're going to ask you later, just to at least consider, is what's the maximum number of percentage of countywide seats? Do you let a school just keep adding centers of excellence, and then suddenly you have no zone?
Right. Yeah.
So it's one of the questions that, and you have to put it out on the table.
Right.
And I'll do it. I guess I'm in this new position. I'm even bolder than I was in my old position. So I'll just.
Lord help us.
So look out.
Yeah, you're another floor away.
That's right. Ms.
Let me just ask one. In our current programs, are all of these either going to become centers of excellence or have already been identified as centers, or are these going to be just programs and the engineering, culinary, and IT, and that?
And I wish Dave Barnes was here to help explain that.
The intent is that as many as can be certified as centers of excellence will become.
Yeah.
There are some that we're having a hard time finding the industry certification to match.
Okay.
And
So the Academy of Engineering at Eastlake, will that be a very, very similar program to the engineering at Bogey? They'll be kind of following the same type of thing, or will they be different programs?
We're using the Project Lead the Way. They had a very slow start. This is not the first year Bogey has had that. But the plan is, Chip is working with them, hoping to beef it up, so it's comparable. And see, Lakewood has a very similar robotics program.
Right.
And they've had that since I was there. So we've got several of these, so I don't anticipate that becoming countywide any more than the one at Lakewood or the one at Eastlake.
Well, that's where I was going with this. It looks like maybe some of these can be regional, or area magnets,
Right, and
as
they should be.
if they're going to be similar programs, and then some of them may have to be countywide.
Right. Only
Okay.
when they're
Right.
unique.
I just
And
want to
that's
keep
why,
it clear in my head.
and that's a good point, and that's why the puzzle pieces are so important to know what the pieces are, and then before we start snapping them into shape. And then you can see the countryside, the IT. They don't have any current countywide program. They're working towards an IT, which is instructional technology, and you can see as we keep going down, the different scenarios. If you go to the next slide. Gibbs, obviously, see the 510 in the middle column? That should be in the box next to the PCCA. Somehow it got moved down.
It is on the printout.
It is on the printout?
Yeah.
Okay, that must have been an earlier version. It must have been
Roman
about
studying.
the 11 o'clock last night version. Okay. And then same thing with the Lakewood. Hopefully it's fixed on your sheet. Okay, then if you keep, you notice at Largo they have the Excel program, but they're also projecting a digital art design, which would take up 200 more projected seats. All right, Dr. Jansen. And then without reading all of them to you, you can just keep going down. Osceola, even though the culinary, the manufacturing, and the media, Osceola is the one place where your fundamental students first, or they would fit into that 1710 to 1962, because it's one of those where you get into the school, that's already countywide, and then we can figure out, that might be more like the Thurgood Fundamental or Thurgood Gifted, but that's mechanical type thing. Palm Harbor, once again, that 540 belongs next to IB. And then you can just see, Pinellas Park's interested because this is where you start getting into, if the capacity is 2137, and then the combination of the criminal justice, the first responders, and the automotive is 1160, you've now just tipped just over 50% of the seats to something that could be countywide.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Jansen. I don't know why this one's bigger, but it is. And Seminole has nothing right now, but they're moving towards a teaching academy. And you can see that roughly 200 seats. Now, that's an estimated number. It's not likely to be less than that, but it could even be a few more than that.
Are we basing the numbers on, well, that's over, once you have 4 years?
That would be on 4 grades.
4 grades.
4 grades.
So you're only talking roughly 50 in a grade in that one.
But that's most likely going to be bigger. But I'm just trying to show you,
Okay.
an anticipated number. It's hard to predict.
And what we've done in the past, when you had a countywide magnet in your school, we did not allow the capacity of those magnets to be over 560. And it was cut
Based on class size for 4
Correct.
years. So it'd be what?
I'm sorry, total of 560.
Yeah.
And
The other thing, as you look at this, you'll notice that there's some schools, for instance, St. Pete High is a good one. They currently have about 2,225 students, and part of that is due to the student assignment plan, close to home, but they really should have somewhere in the neighborhood of probably, realistically speaking, probably close to about 2,000 because of the facility. So those are some things when I mentioned earlier about possible rezoning somewhere down the road. They can accommodate those students right now, but if you're looking at putting the pieces together and fixing not fixing, but just doing a lot of things in an orchestrated plan, those are the kinds of things that we would definitely want to pay attention to. Okay, Dr. Jansen? Okay, so let's talk specifically about the fundamental high school options. And I need to start by saying that if you look at last year's 8th grade fundamental students, there were about, and I had the numbers written down, I think I may have passed the sheet out to you, but you don't have it, I think I passed my notes with somebody else's papers.
If you look at mine,
And that's
it was
okay, but-
31%.
No, that's the way. You should have a sheet that shows the 131 students still sitting on their 9th grade wait list, and what their zone school would be. The percentages that I want to share with you is that of the 500, almost 600 rising 8th graders last year, about 1 out of every 3 of those students ended up at Osceola. So that's about 33%. Of the current 9th grade class at Osceola, it's that same 188 students, but they make up about 41% of the 9th grade class at Osceola. That percentage has increased slightly over each year as Osceola becomes more established. More and more students from the feeder fundamental middle schools apply and accept the seats at Osceola Fundamental. When we looked at where did everybody else go from the other 2 out of the 3, and I can tell you they went all over the place. A number of them went to IB, a number went to almost the CAT program, you name it, they went to a number of other programs, and then there were some that opted to just go to their zoned high school. So it's pretty scattered across the board. But the main number in my mind is that of the almost